This video is rated T or Tickle Me Pink. We're getting to the point in the wipe where many of you have probably completed whatever task it is that you wanted to do for the wipe, whether that was getting max traders, maybe that was getting Kappa container, or unlocking Lightkeeper. Many of you are probably looking for fun ways to spice up the game, and that's what today's video is going to be all about. Today we're going to be talking about off-meta weapons. These are weapons that aren't necessarily meta weapons. It's not a 7.62 MDR, however it is still very effective and fun. It just shines in a unique light. For example, the Ergo HK12. It's very manageable with the recoil changes and super snappy. It rips off everyone's head, and I love to take this to labs personally. If that sounds interesting, we have a bunch of other unique weapon builds for you guys, so stay tuned and make sure to smash the dislike button and tell me to kill myself in the comments down below.
Before we go any farther, I am giving out literally free food. If you guys live in the United States of America and you haven't tried Factor 75 before, I can get you hooked up this week with pre-made meals ready to go for you. Just go ahead and shoot me a message on Discord and I'll get you guys hooked up with that. But message me fast as these boxes are going fast.
And let's hop straight into it with the ergonomic HK. So why an ergonomic HK? Well, it's got a lot of things going for it. First and foremost, it's very short, so you're not going to index it. It's great in close quarter situations. If you guys watch my hidden stats video, you guys know how important that is, as well as a high ergonomic threshold. So with high ergonomics, we're going to be able to play run and gun, running from cover and snapping instantly on people. The turn speed on the weapon is significantly faster, the ADS speed is significantly faster, and with the recoil changes that came in this wipe, this is very manageable. So if you're comfortable aiming for the head, this weapon really shines in that regard. Black Tip 5.56 will go straight through almost every single helmet or face cover in the game, and it's also excellent at avoiding plates and hitting air mid, piercing right through and getting you fast thorax kills that are going to leave your enemies stunned. This doesn't have the same stopping power as a 308, but it is a ton of fun to use. Let's get into how to modify this HK. So first and foremost, we need to buy ourselves an HK416. You can find these for around 69,000 rubles at the time of recording this. After that, we're going to go ahead and slap on the 11-inch barrel, which can be found from Mechanic 3 for 27,000 rubles. And I'm going to go ahead and bring some attention. Look at the UI we made for these videos. Let us know what you guys actually think of this. I completely rebuilt all the trader UI in the game myself. It took an entire day to do, so that the quality of these videos could be even higher for you guys. So let me know how that looks down below. Back to modifying this, on top of our barrel, we're gonna actually want to put an MI 9-inch handguard, which is sold from Peacekeeper level 3 for $103. This barrel and handguard combo is going to be the best stat combination, as well as a very short barrel rifle. At the end of our barrel, we're going to put the Gatelock Hammer Flash Hider from Skier level 3 for 8,000 rubles. On top of that, we'll have the M4SD-K sound suppressor from Skier level 4 for 88,000 rubles. This is the most meta 5.56 flash hider and suppressor combo that will give you the best statistics. At the back of the gun, we're actually going to put on the DD Enhanced Collapsible Buttstock from Peacekeeper level 3 for $74 with a 20mm butt pad that's going to help with the recoil a bit and still give us a lot of ergonomics. Something to keep in mind with the HK is it doesn't have access to all the same buffer tubes that a lot of the other platforms in the game do have access to, so we can't really do anything with that. For the pistol grip, you know what we're going to use already. It's the Graal-S pistol grip from Peacekeeper level 4 for $177. This just gives a massive boost to ergonomics. For a forward grip, we'll go with the SE5 Express grip from Mechanic level 4 for 17,000 rubles. This is the current meta grip. You can also choose to use the B25U Canted foregrip from Skier level 4 for 48,000 rubles. If you want to go ahead and have like a true center and a better parallax, if you guys have seen my hidden stats video, it also works really nicely if you choose to cant this setup and go ahead and use your arm for a little bit more of a shield. I've covered this in previous videos, so we're just going to keep going ahead. For a tactical device, we'll do the Steiner D-Bal tactical device from Peacekeeper level 3 for $115. Once again, covered another video. It's going to be your best flashlight that has really good blind cone, and it'll be beneficial to get a nice spray pattern as well as blind your enemies. For an optic, I chose to use the EOTech XPS 3-0 hollow sight from Skier 4 for $249 with M-Bus flip-up irons. You get these from Mechanic level 2 for 8,000 rubles for front and back. You can also choose to go ahead and put a cant on this like I mentioned before. I personally like to run a delta point if I run it like that, but you can put on whatever optic you choose. And just a friendly reminder, the optics are always personal preference. You can put a boss on this, whatever you want to put on this. I would just recommend a solid 1x magnification. In terms of the magazines, I'm using the PMag Gen 3 40 round magazines. You can go ahead and use 60 round magazines for this. The 40 round mags really shine, lowering the weight as well as keeping the ergonomics really high on this HK, and that's kind of the whole point of the ergonomic HK. 40 round mags do give you a lot of potential to mow down 2 or 3 people. I would go for 30 round magazines, but with 30 round magazines and the high fire rate of the HK, you only get around, I think, 2.3 seconds of trigger time, so you really want to run at least 40 round magazines. The downside of this obviously is you need 3x1 cells for your chest rig, which can be kind of annoying, but if you're running an Osprey protection kit, you'll have 2 right there, and you can have like some backup 30s or 60 if you choose. And that brings the total price to this HK416 to 280,000 rubles. Now that is without an optic, because optics are personal preference, of course, and all future prices will also not include that optic price, so just remember that. And there you have the Ergo HK416. I love to take this personally somewhere like dorms, somewhere like labs, anywhere where you're running between cover and consistently hitting headshots. Reserve Underground is another great angle for this. If you want this weapon build, just go on over to my Twitch channel. It'll be linked in the description down below. Pop open the chat and type in !Ergo HK416. You can do this if I'm offline as well, and then it'll pull up the link and you can see the full weapon build. And the next build is the Scar H. It's actually an automatic 308 weapon. It gets slept on a lot, and we'll start this build off by buying the gun for 140,000 rubles. At the front, we're going to put the MREX 6.5-inch M-Lock rail, sold from Skier Level 3 for 11,000 rubles. Slotted on the end of the barrel, we have the CAC QDC muzzle brake kit from Mechanic Level 3 for 18,000 rubles, and the CAC PRS QDC suppressor from Peacekeeper 3 for $438. This is the current go-to meta 308 suppressor and muzzle brake. Again, we have the Growl S pistol grip from Peacekeeper 4 for $177. On the forward rail, we have an SE5 Express grip from Mechanic 4 for 17,000 rubles. I like to go with the WMX 200 tack light from Mechanic 3 for 15,000 rubles here. It has a longer beam and it's a little bit brighter. You may not enjoy this flashlight as much because it might blind you a little bit, but you will be able to like blind someone from one side of reserve bunkers to the other if you're in that underground section. For an optic, I have the EOTech HHS1 Flip Up Hollow. You can get this on the flea market for around 48,000 rubles. And I like to pair M-Bus Flip Up Iron Sights from Mechanic 2 for 8,000 rubles for the front and back. That brings the total of this Scar H to 270,000 rubles. But this is what your final Scar looks like. Again, if you want this full build, just go ahead and type !off meta Scar in my Twitch chat, and that'll be available to you guys. As much as I like the YouTube comment system, we can have a better conversation actually in Discord, in the text chats, or the voice chats. I'm always hanging out in there, and I love getting to meet you guys, so make sure you join that. For the next weapon, we have the Mutant. So the Mutant heyday is over. However, this build does make it very viable. The Mutant suffers from a lot of issues, namely the fact is it didn't get its recoil adjusted like all the other weapons with the recoil adjustment. It's super expensive to modify in a typical meta format. It shoots at a low rate of fire, and rate of fire is king right now with the low recoil meta, and the ammunition that comes out of it. Unfortunately, the ammunition hasn't been changed whatsoever. However, access to higher tier armor with the changes to plates have made it so 7.62 BP gets stopped significantly more. Additionally, 7.62 BP cannot be purchased this wipe, and PP suffers the exact same effects but even more. So for those reasons, the Mutant has been in a bad spot this wipe. However, the Mutant is super cool. I mean, it's a 7.62 AK fused with like an AR-15. It is the most based weapon in the game, and with this build we're going to be able to bring it back. So due to the nature of its recoil not being changed whatsoever and it being super expensive to run, we've opted to actually make this more of like a short barrel rifle. You're going to go ahead and need to grab a Mutant for 140,000 rubles from Skier Level 4 after completing the quest of Bullshit. And then on the end of your weapon, instead of going with a suppressor, we're going to go with a Lantac Blast Mitigation Adapter from Peacekeeper 4 for $30. The Lantac Dragon 7.62 by Fu1 Muzzle Brake from Peacekeeper 4 for $194. And the Lantac Blast Mitigation Device from Peacekeeper 4 for $84. And this is going to give us a ton of recoil reducing traits while keeping the ergonomic stat high and our overhead spent on this weapon relatively low. At the back of the weapon, we want a Psy Advanced Buffer Tube from Mechanic 4 for 11,000 rubles. On top of the buffer tube, we want to slot on a PRS Gen 3 stock from Peacekeeper 3 for $184. These two will give us the best recoil reducing stats we can get, and this thing still kicks like a mule, so we really want to focus in on that. Oddly enough, with these attachments we have on the weapon right now, once we go ahead and put a foregrip on this thing, it's going to have the exact same recoil stats as a long barrel and suppressed Mutant, so this build is very viable in that regard. For a pistol grip, once again, we're going to go ahead with a Growl S pistol grip from Peacekeeper 4 for $177. We'll pair that with a B25U canted foregrip from Skier 4 for 48,000 rubles. And then for the mutant, I like to run the Balder Pro Laser Light from Skier 2 for 9,500 rubles. For optic, my personal choice is the Wilcox Boss Reflex sight from Peacekeeper 4 for $484. This is a really expensive holographic sight, but it is just so clean. One thing I would recommend is you guys actually use a LaRue riser, so you can go ahead and bring your optic away from all the muzzle flash the blast mitigation device creates, and you'll be able to hit your shots significantly more accurately. Otherwise, you're going to be getting blinded by that blast mitigation, so make sure you slap on that LaRue riser. That brings the total of this mutant to 300,000 rubles. If you guys want this mutant build, just make sure you head over to my Twitch channel and type in !off meta mutant, and it'll pop right up for you. For the next weapon, we have the M4A1, and much like the mutant, we have a short barrel rifle stubby variation of the M4, and I don't see anyone actually running the M4 in this format. I feel like this is actually a forgotten setup that was kind of popularized in like 2017, 2018, and then everyone forgot about it, but it's still wildly effective. We're going to start off with the base price of the M4 at 60,000 rubles. First and foremost, we're going to go ahead and tear out and grab the Mer 1S upper receiver from Peacekeeper 4 for $279. Then we're going to slap in the AR-15 260mm barrel from Peacekeeper 3 for $163. For a gas block, we have the AR-15 Low Pro gas block from Skier 3 for 8,000 rubles. This will give us the best stats in the gas block section. For a handguard, we specifically need to grab the AR-15 Psi 10-inch QD handguard from Skier 4 for 62,000 rubles. However, it's going to allow us to slot on the jailbreak. First, we must put on the Boltec ST6012 muzzle brake from mechanic level 4 for 16,000 rubles. And then on top of it, finally, slotting over the muzzle brake and onto the handguard is the AR-15 Psi jailbreak muzzle device from Skier 4 for 23,000 rubles. This is effectively like a 5.56 blast mitigation. Just like the mutant, this weapon is going to have meta recoil stats while being a short barrel rifle with extremely high ergonomics. The tail end of the weapon, we're going to go ahead and put on the Psi advanced buffer tube from mechanic level 4 for 11,000 rubles. Once again with the PRS Gen 3 stock from Peacekeeper 3 for $184. For a pistol grip, we have the Growl S pistol grip from Peacekeeper 4 for $177. And then for a grip, I like to run the B25U canted foregrip from Skier 4 for 48,000 rubles. For a light, we have the Balder Pro laser light from Skier 2 for 9,000 rubles. And just like with a mutant, we're going to make sure we put on the LaRue riser mount for mechanic level 2 for 3,000 rubles. For an optic, I have the EOTech XPS3-0 holo sight from Skier 4 for $250. And I like to pair this with M-Bus flip-up irons mechanic 2 for 8,000 rubles front and back. For a charging handle, I would grab the Raptor charging handle for mechanic 4 for 8,000 rubles, just to give you a nice ergonomics boost. And then same thing with the HK. I personally prefer to run this with 40 round magazines. You can choose to use 60s. You can even go 30 just because the fire rate is lower on this compared to the HK. Just go ahead and try what you like the most and we'll go forward. That brings the total of this M4A1 to 370,000 rubles. It's pretty pricey, but this M4A1 build is one of my favorites in the game. It's a loud, it's proud. No one here's a loud M4 and expects it to be a fully modified, level 50 running after them. They expect it to be a level 3. So you kind of give people some comedic justice, if you will. You'll see high level players come running at the sound of loud M4. They just want to like bully a Timmy, kill a Timmy, and then you're there to put them down immediately. It's so satisfying. If you guys want this M4 build, just go ahead over to my Twitch chat, type !off meta M4, and I'll pop right up for you guys. For our last weapon, we have the Vector 45. So we're going to go ahead and buy this weapon for 85,000 rubles. I like to slot on this 6-inch barrel from Skier level 3 for 12,000 rubles. I use the standard flash hider from Skier level 3 for 1,500 rubles. You can choose to go ahead and put on the Omega 45K thread adapter from mechanic level 2 for 4,200 rubles with the Omega 45 ACP suppressor from mechanic level 1 for 42,000 rubles. However, it will really influence your weight and ergonomics stats, so I would recommend trying it with and without a suppressor. I personally like to run it a lot without a suppressor. At the tail end of the weapon, we want the Vector non-folding stock adapter from Skier level 3 for 4,000 rubles, combined with an SI advanced buffer tube from mechanic level 4 for 11,000 rubles. Slot on top of that once again is the PRS Gen 3 stock from Peacekeeper 3 for $184. For a foregrip, we have an SE5 foregrip once again. For a light, the Balder Pro laser light from Skier level 2 for 9,000 rubles. For an optic, we have the EOTech XPS3-0 holo sight from Skier 4 for $249. And the only downside the Vector 45 suffers that the 9mm doesn't is it only has 30 round magazines. So we're going to slot in those 30 round magazines. You get them from Mechanic 3 for 4,000 rubles each. However, one thing the Vector has going on for it that other SMGs don't is it comes with a burst fire. So actually go ahead and use this in burst fire anytime you're actually out and about in the world. You don't really want to be spraying at people at any sort of mid-range engagement. You'll feel like you might hit them, but you're going to lose a lot of damage over time with that 45 AP. You really want to get close and personal and utilize that burst fire mode in mid-range if you have to take a mid-range engagement. But the Vector 45 is insane. It shoots faster than the Vector 9mm. I believe off the top of my head, it shoots at 1100 rounds per minute. So this thing fries, and 45 AP is a hell of a round. It has higher armor piercing capabilities than 9mm, and it also does significantly more flesh damage, causes more bleeds, etc. It's just a way worse round to get hit by in game. So if maybe you don't like 9mm submachine guns normally, try the 45 out. And that brings the total of this Vector 45 to 165,000 rubles, which is surprisingly cheap for how effective this is. If you want this Vector build, just go type in over on my Twitch chat, !off meta Vector, and it'll pop right up for you guys. For honorable mentions, we have the RPDN. Make sure you get the variation that has the dovetail here, so you can go ahead and put on the dovetail mount with a Picatinny rail on the side, so you can get an optic as well as a laser on it. The next honorable mention is the Ash 12. It's a lot of fun to use. It's like a Russian 50 cal. It shoots the 12.7 round. The only issue is it's really hard to get your hands on this ammo consistently. It sells out instantaneously. And also with the velocity changes, this round travels so slow from the Ash 12. I believe it actually travels at 300 some meters a second from the muzzle velocity. So that is so low, you really have to be dangerously close to people to not feel the effects of that really slow cartridge. The next honorable mention is the P90. Now the P90, there's not much to modify about it, but it is great. Kind of like the Vector 45, if you typically don't like submachine guns, give the P90 a try. It has super high muzzle velocity, and SS190 is a round you do not want to get hit by once again. The Vector 45 and the P90 feel almost a little bit more rifle-esque than a lot of the other submachine guns in the game because they hit so hard. And I'd really recommend you guys give them a try. And for the last honorable mention, even if you're super far into the late game, try the MP9N variation. It's just an insanely high rate of fire SMG. It's dirt cheap and it's a lot of fun to utilize. I personally went all through the wipe not using it, and I recently got my hands on it on my alternate account for a new series coming for you guys. And the MP9 just absolutely shreds. Just remember to get the N variation for a higher rate of fire. But that covers the Tarkov off meta weapon builds. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. If you haven't already, go watch my video on camouflage. I know it sounds super dorky, but it'll consistently get you the first shot on enemies, which will lead to you living through more raids, winning more PvP engagements, and making more money. I'll see you guys in the Discord and the live stream.